So you went to jail. Were you in prison or jail?
Well, I went to
Obama put you in jail. Were you surprised?
I'm probably more surprised than most other people who end up in jail because nothing I did warranted that. You know, I exceeded the campaign finance law, and typically for that you get community service and a fine. In fact, to be honest, what I did, the amount involved was so small, and since I had no corruption, no motive, it's normally not even prosecuted. Rosie O'Donnell just exceeded the campaign finance law 5 times.
Yeah.
No one's even talking about
this. Look at Al
this.
Sharpton. He doesn't even pay his taxes.
That's a whole different story. But you know, I made the movie on Obama. I upset him.
Yeah.
You know, in a weird way, I took that as a measure of making a good movie because if you, you know, if you can make a movie that has that kind of impact, where the guy who's in the movie wants to go after you, so that encouraged me to make more movies.
So, did you ever imagine? I'm making this movie. What was it called? Obama America, right?
2016 Obama's America.
Yeah. Did you ever think, while making this movie, one day Obama's going to put me in jail?
No. I did not think that. In fact, it was a new thing for me. I didn't even know if the movie would make the theaters, if it would get out there. We opened the movie in 4 theaters.
Yeah.
And had it done poorly, it would have shut down right there.
Right.
But it caught a wind, it did well, it expanded to more theaters. I think what really got to Obama wasn't just that I was critical of him, it was that here I was, you know, Obama was going around the country and saying, "We are our brother's keeper."
Right.
Remember that?
I remember that.
I remember so I was in Kenya, and I found his brother, George. And he was living in a slum, you know, walking through the mud to get out of his hut. And so I sat down with him in the slum and interviewed him. I said, you know, Obama says that we are brother's keeper. Now, what is he doing to keep you? This guy goes, well, he hasn't lifted a finger to help me. And so, you know, I exposed the hypocrisy and just the sheer, you know, the audacity with which people who would never dream of opening their doors, we don't need a wall, we don't need a fence. But of course, if anyone shows up at their house, they can get in.
That's right. So were you in jail or prison?
I was in something else called a confinement center. A confinement center is a jail for people who are basically serving long prison sentences. They've almost completed their time, but before they go on the street, they're sent to this confinement center. And I had to stay there. I didn't stay there in the day, but I had to check in at 7 p.m. overnight and check out in the morning.
Oh, I see. Were you afraid in there?
Oddly, I was protected by the fact that we were not in a cell. If I was in a cell, I'd be with one other guy, right? But I was in a dorm. And a dorm, a room about this size, 60 beds, 2 floors, so 60 apiece, 120 felons in the room. I mean, I can't say I slept all that well. Certainly in the beginning, I slept with one eye open. But over time, I got okay with it. I realized there are ways to be. You have to be sensible, you know.
Right, of course.
So I would dress the part. And I was low key, and I was careful. You know, some guy would come up and say, you know, can I borrow $5? Now you have to realize you have to be careful how you answer, because if you say yes, then he's going to be back for more money. If you say no, he could take it as an insult. You have to think, how do I deal with those situations?
So what did you say? No, sir, I'm from India. I don't have any money.
See, that's a pretty good one. That would have been pretty good. I just said, I said, hey, I don't have it.
Yeah.
And so that was probably the best answer.
I imagine you there because we talked about it on the show, and I thought he's going to come out of there with a movie about being in there and educating the people while in there. Did they know who you were? Anybody in there knew who you were?
Not the inmates. The guards did, because in fact, what happened was I'd come to New York for a judicial hearing. I'd gone to the Megyn Kelly show on Fox News Channel in those days. And one of the guards saw me. He's like, what? This guy, what?
Yeah.
You know, so when I came back the next day, he's like, were you on TV? I was like, well, yeah. And so he told everybody else. So the authorities knew, but the guys inside, unless I told someone, they didn't know.
Oh, okay. What did you realize about yourself while there? Did you learn anything about yourself that you had not realized before?
Well, first of all, I realized that I realized that this was exposing me to a whole America I'd never seen before.
Yes.
I also realized that somebody like me with my own type of background, I mean, this was such a different environment. In fact, my publisher, a young guy with a similar background to me, he said to me, he goes, Dinesh, I could not survive in there. He goes, it is such a different place.
It sure is.
I mean, you're basically in with thugs, you know?
That's right.
And he goes, I would just melt, you know. But I realized, no, I actually have, and I think I get this from my mom, a little inner serenity and toughness that I think has held me in good stead. I also realized at the end of the day, American politics is not a debating game.
Right.
You actually have, and I think we've seen this in recent years, a kind of a gangsterization of the Democratic Party. And we, again, have to be a little bit aware of that and sort of go on as if this is just a debate in which they believe in, we believe in liberty, they believe in equality, is to miss the reality of the situation.
How long was your sentence?
8 months.
8 months. And then the Great White Hope comes along and pardon you. Were you surprised? How did that happen?
You know, I was, how did it happen?
Tell me first, were you surprised?
I was surprised.
Okay.
I remember, unlike you, I was not an original Trumpster. In fact, I stayed out of the primaries.
I'll let him know that so he can put you back in there.
Oh, yes. Once Trump became the nominee, I was on board.
Oh, okay.
But I would have been on board if Ted Cruz was the nominee.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I thought there was a good chance I would get pardoned. But see, sometimes the president will wait until the end.
Right.
So I was very lucky that Trump decided to do it now. So I'm very grateful that happened, and it's unleashed me in a new way.
So did someone speak on your behalf to the president? Like, you know, this guy's in there, he's a good guy, Obama hated him, and he shouldn't be there?
A lot of people on social media were petitioning Trump. Hey, pardon this guy. This is stupid. This makes no sense. Well, finally, Senator Ted Cruz went to Trump and he said, "You have to pardon Dinesh D'Souza."
Oh, good.
And according to Senator Cruz, Trump just looked over in the limousine and said, "Done."
Right on.
And it was like that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really funny. Even when he called me, he was very Trumpian, his usual kind of amusing self. The whole thing was very funny.
So the president called you?
Yeah, I was in my study, and the phone rings. I pick it up. It's the White House operator. She goes, "Hold the line for the President of the United States."
Amazing.
I'm like, whoa. So Trump comes in, and he goes, hey. He goes, you know, I'm sitting here with John Kelly. He goes, "You know John Kelly?" I'm like, "I don't know John Kelly. I know who he is, but no, I don't know the guy." So it was like that, a very jovial kind of conversation.
Wow. Well, I'm glad they got you out. Let you out. Congratulations
Thank you.
that. When you got out, when President Trump released you, did you send Obama a note like, nah, ha, ha, ha?
You know what? I didn't do that, but believe me, I was tempted to send notes to my judge, my prosecutor, Eric Holder, all these guys. I have to admit that part of my amusement, I mean, initially I was just relieved, and I had all the positive emotions. When the negative emotions started kicking in, I was actually fantasizing and imagining the face of my judge.
Yeah.
This is a Clinton appointee judge. You know, this guy, by the way, sentenced me to psychiatric examination from my crime, as if I'm like Jeffrey Dahmer.
I know. Amazing.
So this is how these people are. This is how they think.
They're evil.
And so anyway, but all's well that ends well.
It does. Are you a Christian?
Yes.
You're a Christian. I'm a Christian too, and I believe that our battle is a spiritual battle, that it's a warfare between good and evil. It has nothing to do with the physical. And that, you know, the Bible says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spirits and principalities and wickedness in high places. And so in my book, The Antidote, I prove that there's no such thing as racism, no such thing as racism, sexism, homophobia, Islamophobia, no isms. That's what the children of the lie speaks, and that's why we can't resolve the problem, because it's an illusion. Our battle is a spiritual problem. It's either right or wrong, good or evil. And I think we as Christians should stop using the language of the children of the lie and speak the truth so that we can resolve these issues. Either you're right or you're wrong. It has nothing to do with male or female. When I was growing up down in Alabama on that plantation, the word racism didn't even exist. It was either right or wrong. Do you see and agree with what I'm saying, that it's a spiritual thing and not a physical one?
Yeah, if I understand you correctly, I agree completely. I agree that here's the political realm over here. And underneath that is a moral realm. And underneath that is a spiritual realm.
Yes.
Right? I absolutely agree with that. And I think that our political problems are a manifestation of deeper moral problems.
Yes. Yes, sir.
And our moral problems themselves are a reflection of a deeper spiritual crisis.
Yes.
So in that sense, I think that's why I'm like blown away when I hear Christians say things like, "Oh, well, I cannot get involved in society."
I know.
And this is nonsense. I mean, the Christians are the salt and light of the earth and have to be actively involved in politics. You know, the American Revolution occurred because preachers were urging people to go out and fight.
Yes.
And there is a famous scene in Massachusetts of one of the leading preachers who, in the middle of his sermon, while he's preaching about the necessity of the revolution, he essentially, he's wearing a kind of a cassock, almost like a priest, and he unzips his cassock, and he's in military uniform underneath that.
Yeah.
So this line between politics and spirituality is the early champions of the American Revolution saw spiritual conviction as fortifying the revolutionary spirit.
When you compare President Trump to Abraham Lincoln, that was mind-blowing to me. And it shows that men who believe in God, it doesn't matter what century it is or generation it is, it's the same spirit of goodness and power and authority that's operating. And I thought that was an excellent job you did.
Well, one of the reasons people feel emotionally resistant to these analogies is they feel like that Lincoln was kind of a superhuman, you know, and so who can be compared to Lincoln? But when you actually study Lincoln up close, you see the actual humanity of Lincoln's situation.
Right.
And in fact, even some of the things said about Trump, you know, he's an idiot, he's a buffoon. That's how Lincoln was viewed. When
Right.
Lincoln first came in, there's a woman, Mary Chestnut, who's the wife of Senator Chestnut, who was the senator from South Carolina, Democrats. And Mary Chestnut, a very intelligent woman, she keeps a diary called Diary from Dixie. And she's writing about Lincoln. She goes, every time I look at Lincoln, she goes, I'm appalled. The man's a total buffoon. All he does is he tells these ridiculous stories. He's not a serious man. And unfortunately, this is a serious time. But the North has elected this clown, you know. And I chuckle when I read this because we're not used to, we hear people who don't like Lincoln, but we don't hear Lincoln described as a buffoon.
Right.
But that's how she saw him. And so that was in the politics of the moment. And the situations facing Trump and Lincoln are eerily similar.
I know, that was
right?
mind-blowing.
An outsider gets elected, a major party goes berserk, they won't accept the election, they're willing to they want to kill him, but if they can't get rid of him, they'll break up the country, but they're going to overturn the result no matter what. I mean, and it's the same party
Yes.
in both cases, the Democratic Party.
So is that history repeated itself? That's what that means, or is that a made-up thing?
History does not repeat itself in identical forms, but what it does mean is that you can learn from episodes in the past that are illuminating about the present.
Yeah.
I believe that's why we study history.
What is a man besides the body part? What is a man?
I would say that we in the kind of hierarchy of things we have the animals, and then we have the angels up in heaven. So man is this intermediate creature that is animal in his structure, but has a spark of the divine. And so we are this compound hybrid of divinity and animality, you might say. And so there's always a human nature struggling to better itself.
Yeah. Are men different from women?
Yes, men are different from women, and men are more different from women than, say, blacks are different from whites. I remember someone used the phrase about race that it's the painted face. At the end of the day, I think race is largely exterior.
Yeah, I agree.
But gender is not.
Right.
I mean, God made man and God made woman, and men and women are moral equals, and they're complementary, and they can do a lot of things the same, but there are also some things that are different. And men and women are wired differently, and I think bring different strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah. My heart breaks for black Americans because when I was growing up, most blacks at the time, it was unheard of for abortion. Out of wedlock birth was embarrassing, so it was rare. Blacks respected one another and others. And today, not all, but most blacks are suffering due to the destruction of the family and the lack of moral character. How do you see the state of black Americans?
Well, first of all, a little historical note. Blacks are, as a group, real American heroes because no one would have thought that after slavery, blacks could have, in the 20th century, created a community in which the family would be restored as an institution, in which blacks would have entrepreneurial businesses, in which blacks would pursue education, even under difficult conditions of segregation, the depression, and so on. But blacks did this. even though the family was legal in no slave community, no slave state allowed the family among the slaves. The fact of the matter is that by 100 years ago, in the early 20th century, 75 to 80% of African Americans had nuclear families.
Yeah.
So the breakdown of the black family is not due to slavery. This is, again,
Right.
part of the progressive myth.
Yeah.
Slavery destroyed the black family. No, slavery did not destroy the black family. The black family essentially went into a tailspin starting in the 1960s. And the illegitimacy rate for African Americans went from 25% to about 75%, which is where it is now. Now, in fairness, the white rate went up too. The white rate is now up to 33%, which is much higher than it was
Right.
for African Americans in the 60s. So this is a national problem for sure. But I think the brunt of the destructive effect of progressive policies has been felt more on African Americans than on any other group.
Yeah.
And this is why the Democrats bear a heavy burden of genuine shame, none of which they actually feel.
And one of the reasons that they've been able to destroy the black family is that they went after the man first. They told the black man that you can't be in the home. When the government became the daddy of the family with Lyndon B. Johnson, that's what I remember. And so the black men would either hide or leave the homes, and the women would start receiving welfare checks and things like that. And now the women are just having babies just to get the checks, generation after generation. So my question is, I noticed that men, especially straight, white, conservatives, Christian men of power today, are under attack. The man is the most hated species on this side of heaven. Do you agree with that? And if so, do you know why that is?
I mean, now that's a very profound question, and I don't know if I can do full justice to it. I will say that I think that traditional masculinity is definitely under attack.
Yeah.
Traditional masculinity was always recognized to be a mixed blessing. And by that I mean a patriarchal family could be oppressive or it could be decent. Manliness can lead to militarism and war and conquest, but it can also lead to courage and strength and character.
Yeah.
And so the old task was always about bringing about the best of masculinity. But the progressive left today wants to get rid of that masculinity completely.
Yes.
Their ideal is Trudeau, the metrosexual man.
Yeah.
Who carries a flower, and to blur the line between the genders, which I don't think is a good thing for men or women.
Right. I realize the reason that men are hated, and I know for a fact, had not the black man left his family, black people would be still doing very well in life because he was in charge, right? The reason that the man is hated because there's a spiritual order to life, and that order is God and Christ, Christ and man, man over woman, and woman over children. And so love comes from above, through God, through Christ, through the man to the woman and children. And the men are the spiritual head, protection of their families. And Eva understands that if it could get rid of the Christ, it's easy to take over the women and children. And that's what happened to black men, and I see now that they're trying to do it to the white man. Get rid of him, make him look like a bad guy, a rapist or an abuser and all that, and turn his family away from him. They can take over the women and children. Thanks for watching The Fallen State. We need your continued support. Donate to my nonprofit here. Subscribe and like the videos here. And tell everybody and their mama about the show.